Chapter 9. In the middle of the semester, a young teacher named Chen organized a yearly elementary school ping pong match for the purpose of qualifying for the commune and eventually the county championship event. He was a decent guy with a head of salt and pepper hair. I had always admired him for his many talents: calligraphy, basketball, writing, and he could play all kinds of musical instruments. Each time he passed me, he greeted me readily. In fact, he was the only teacher who joked with me. One afternoon, he came to my class and sat next to me with his arm over my shoulder. "How would you like to participate in the school championship match? I know you're pretty good." "I'm not sure my political background would allow me to do so," I said uncertainly. "I'll take care of it. You just make sure to be there for the game." "Okay." My heart leaped with joy. As far as ping pong was concerned, there was only one other boy who played as well as I. If I wasn't there to challenge him, he would take the title hands down. That evening, I borrowed my brother's paddle and played 3 games in the match at the school cafeteria, a temporary game room. I spun and struck. Within 2 hours, I had defeated all the other players. The next night, with Sin, Shang, Mogan, and Yi watching from the windows, I beat my enemy Han, another opponent, to become the champion for our commune. When the results were announced that next day at the morning exercise break, the whole school turned and looked at me. After so many years, I felt once again as though I belonged there. Proudly, I waved my hands and bowed my head to their cheers. The gratitude I felt for Teacher Singh was beyond words. "We would like to hold a swearing-in ceremony among us 5 at Mogun's tomorrow," Sin said one day. "What do you think?" "You mean sort of like in ancient times, when the outlaws cut their fingers and let the blood drip into the wine and drank it together to become sworn brothers?" I asked excitedly. "That's it," Sin said, and said something like, "Can't be born on the same day, but would like to die at the same moment." Mogun quoted a phrase from the well-known classic about a bunch of outlaws hiding deep in the mountains, who become sworn brothers and fought the establishment. "I'm in," I said. "What do we need to do?" "Prepare a banquet with some hard liquor." The next day I went to Mogun's house, a 2-story place that was totally empty since his parents had taken off again to sell shoes in another country. Shang had bought 2 lively young ducks from the market with my 5 yen and brought 3 pounds of pork from home. He came up with some vegetables and noodles, and Sin ventured back home and had us sit under the kitchen window while he passed out some much-needed lard. We all pitched in to buy the liquor and cigarettes. During the apprenticeship days, Yi had learned to cook. He was the only one who knew anything about it. I had resumed my usual job of washing the vegetables, picking over scallions, and cutting them to match the specifications of the chef. Mogun chased the ducks in the backyard, causing the dirt and dust to fly, and Shang sharpened a knife, ready to behead them. "Duh, I want you to write some rules for us to go by," Sin said, squatting next to me. "Let me think about it," I said. When the food was finally brought to the table, along with chopsticks, spoons, and plates, we couldn't help shaking our heads in surprise. The 2 ducks, well shimmered with garlic, ginger, wine, and Ye's secret soy recipe, lay on a large plate with their skinned heads on one side. Next to them sat a deep pot with steaming pork shoulders, succulent and juicy. A king's feast was about to begin, and our stomachs growled in anticipation. It seemed more like a normal happy family meal than a swearing-in ceremony for a bunch of self-proclaimed outlaws. What civilization had done to us since the time of the kings and dynasties? We sat in order of seniority: Sin, Mogun, Yi, Shang, and me, clockwise around the circular wooden table. Sin opened the first bottle of liquor, a local brewery rice wine that gave out a pungent fragrance of grain, and poured us each a tall glassful. Wearing a serious look in those famous cold eyes, Sin declared, "Fate has brought us together. From now on, we are brothers, not by blood, but by spirit." "What happened to our swearing in and all?" Mogun asked. "That was the ancient thing. There's no need for splitting open our fingers," Sin said. "But I asked that to write out a few rules that we all shall live by faithfully. What happens if one of us doesn't follow the rules. Here, Chen pound his big fist on the table. I'll take care of it. What if it's you? The second in command would take over and have me punished the same way. Okay, what's the rule, duh? Sin asked. I took out a piece of paper and read solemnly, no betrayal. No better friends outside than us. We suffered together, enjoyed together, no jealousy, and we are all equal. Does everyone agree? Sin glanced at each of us intensely. We nodded. You all meant it, didn't you? Sin shouted like an older brother. We nodded again. This is serious. Anyone who cannot live up to these rules, leave this place now, he shouted. I don't want traitors in here. The drama seemed to work. Everyone was quiet and thoughtful. For the first time, we all realized that it wasn't just food, drinks, smoking, and having fun together. It was more than that now. We were bound by rules. The moment filled me with strength, courage, and emotion. I felt I had grew a few inches. Now, bottoms up, Sin said, casting a long look at me in particular. You gotta do it. But I've never had anything that strong before. I protested. Can I just have a few sips first? This isn't strong. See? Sin poured the whole thing down his throat. His face suddenly twisted into fierce grimace. Then he turned red down to his neck. He opened his mouth as wide as he possibly could and wiggled his tongue, fanning his mouth, wildly grasping for air. After a long pause, when the liquor apparently had settled, Sin said, See, I did it. His voice was raspy like sandpaper. We covered our mouths, trying not to laugh. Then everyone did the same thing clockwise. When my turn came, I pinched my nose, closed my eyes, and downed the contents of the tall glass. As I had expected, it burned all the way to wherever it went inside my body. I could picture the flow of liquor, a stream of hot liquid steel, burning every inch of me. The miracle of pure alcohol. I instantly felt dizzy. How does it feel? Here, have some soup, Sin said, holding the spoon to my mouth. Yi and Mogan supported me, and Chen stuck a piece of duck inside my mouth to dispel the bad taste. Like fire, I coughed a few times, swallowing the soup and chewing on the duck. My head was throbbing, and things began dancing around me. The whole house seemed to be moving in circles. Now, brothers, Sin said, it's time to eat. They dug into the duck. I went for a cigarette. Don't smoke now. It'll be like oil on fire, on top of the liquor, I heard the wise voice of Yi say. But I lit one nonetheless. It felt heavenly. For the rest of the banquet, I sat there dazed, watching the others laugh, chat, joke, drink, and smoke. They saved some food for me before we all went to sleep for the rest of the day. When I awoke in darkness, my head ached as if a brick had hit it, throbbing with waves of pain each time I turned it. I struck a match and lit a candle and saw my newly sworn brothers snoring like a litter of puppies, huddled in one another's warmth. Sin was drooling on Yi's face, and Shang was holding an empty bottle, his legs over Mogon's shoulder. I felt hungry and bet my friends would feel the same way. So I warmed up each dish and cleaned up the place, while putting on a kettle of fresh green tea to brew. Then I woke them up. They blinked like it was murder to be woken at this hour. Let's eat. Aren't you hungry? They nodded, stretching their heads and yawning. First, hot tea to wake you all up, brothers. I smiled as I served the steaming tea. I feel a heck of a lot better now with the tea, Dad, Sin said. Thanks. I'm sorry the liquor knocked you out like that. I didn't know it was strong enough to catch fire off the match. We all got knocked out. It was so strong my mouth still feels like rubber, and the food tastes like an old rag, Sheen said. We couldn't help laughing at ourselves. But laughter wasn't the best thing at this moment. Each moment multiplied the pain attacking our heads and necks. I think they put fire powder in the liquor. It was a fake, Chen. More laughter, more pain. By this time, my dad had become quite an acupuncturist. Before Grandpa died, he had had a minor stroke. And Dad, unable to afford an acupuncturist for him, would study books on ancient arts, staying up late every night, sometimes even taking the old classics of Chinese herbs medicines to bed with him. After Grandpa died, Dad began offering free services to close friends and neighbors. Soon his reputation spread. He began to see patients in our home and sometimes even made house calls. Under Dad's care, a few patients who had been paralyzed regained their ability to go to the bathroom and eat on their own. As his renown spread, a truck often drove him to treat patients in remote towns. Dad was shy about charging a fee, which would have made him an illegal practitioner. But people bought grains, rice, bananas, fish, shrimp, and all matters of food to repay him for his services. One of the patients even secured a temporary job at the county's canned foods factory for one of my sisters. Dad was a happier person. Even though he still had to work at a few more labor camps, he was treated differently. At one camp near Ching Mountain, Mon Hai, a burly man with an unsightly birthmark over his right eye, was the supervising cadre. One evening he sent for Dad to be brought to his cabin. Much to my father's surprise, the cadre offered him a cigarette. Dad bowed humbly. Normally, the campers summoned to Meng Ha's cabin were there to be lectured or humiliated into midnight. I need a favor from you, Meng Ha said in an unusually low voice, after first closing his door and window. Anything, sir. I'm here to be reformed. No, please sit down. I want you here for a different matter. Shall I say, a private matter? The communist smiled, revealing his gold-capped front teeth. My dad fell last night and had a stroke. He is still in a coma, and the doctor says he is paralyzed. I am so sorry to hear that. You know what the doctor also said? Manhai lit a cigarette for my father. What did he say? That you are the only one in this area who could cure him. No, I'm an amateur. It is purely a hobby, that's all. I did try treatment on my own now dead father, but I would not call myself a doctor or anything like that. You should really seek other help, my father mumbled nervously. Are you saying no to me? I'm not, Cadre. You don't understand, Dad said. Then what is it? Monhan asked. Money? That's no problem. My brother is the head of the fertilizer factory, and he has loads of money. No, it's not money, Dad shook his head. I know what it is. You are afraid. Dad remained silent. It's totally understandable. I would be also if I were you. But please, don't be. Just try to treat him as if I'm one of your regular patients. You're right. Dad could still feel the pain inflicted on his back where Mohan had kicked him from slowing down at another campsite. Mohan's father sounded as if he was in critical condition, and if anything happened to him, Dad would be blamed. I really wouldn't feel comfortable, Cadre. Look at me, doctor. I also have a heart. The cadre pulled open his shirt and emphasized, I apologize for what I have done to you. No, there's no need for that. I shouldn't have kicked you. The man's eyes turned misty. I'm sorry. I will make it up to you. Dad was quiet, watching the bear of a man tearing his guts out. Even if I agreed to take a look, I wouldn't be able to do so. We're not allowed to leave the campsite. I'll take care of that. Dad was told to stay in his cabin the next morning, while the rest of the campers rolled out of their beds and headed for the chilly mountain to dig some more hills and fill some more valleys. At 9 o'clock, a biker came by and picked Dad up, carrying him to Mohan's house a few miles away. It turned out to be a light stroke. Mohan's old man was only 65 and in good health. It took Dad about 2 months to bring him back to where he could walk with only a slight limp. At the reform camp, Dad hardly had to touch his farming tools. He had been ordered to stay behind and write confessions, but in fact all he did was read the medical books and be taken to see the patient every day. He was allowed to come home for dinner after dark 3 times a week. The rest of the time he spent at Kendra's cabin, where Mon Hai would do his drinking and pour out his admiration for Dad. It was there that Dad learned that the good food, liquor, and cigarettes that Mon Hai shared with him all came from the campers, who bribed Mon Hai for lighter work and a guarantee they would avoid punishment. In one of his drunken states, Mon Hai even revealed that he had occasionally slept with the young wife of a newly branded counter-revolutionary, a camper under his supervision. He further admitted that he had slept with the wife at her request because she wanted to ensure that the poor young man would live to see his infant son. Dad itched to inflict some pain on that son of a whore and offered Mon Hai the use of his needles to cure his drinking addiction, but he refused. One day, Mon Hai was suddenly rushed back from the work site where he spent an hour a week on inspection. Two strong young men took turns carrying him on their backs. "Chen, come here," they said to my father. Mon Hai was hurt. A rock rolled down the side of the hill and landed on his waist, bruising him badly before bouncing off into a ditch. "Doctor, I think I can use some of those needles you got there," Mong said, looking up in pain from his bed. "I think so too," Dad replied. During the following weeks, Dad gave Mon Hai double the numbers of treatment necessary. He chose longer, thicker needles and spun them harder, telling Mom that he would improve faster that way. Mon Hai would shake with fear as he watched Dad slowly prepare the needles, wiping them on an alcohol pad. He would squirm in anticipation of the pain until the needles would actually insert it under his skin. Then, his hysterical and terrifying screams could be heard for miles around. Before each session, Mon Hai begged for more, and during every session, he cussed and rolled in agony. After each of my father's visits, he would shed tears of gratitude. His pain soon disappeared, and Gang Chen openly became known around camp as Doc. Dad was discharged from labor camp early that year and received a glorious report on how his anti-communist ways of thinking had improved. The report was signed in big letters by the now healthy Mon Hai, who ironically was selected by the people of Yellowstone as an outstanding member of the Communist Party. His picture appeared on the walls outside the commune headquarters, only to be washed off a week later by a cold winter rain.